We speak about some of the feed-related disorders. We had spoken about some already. We were talking about the grains, the rumen acidosis. What is the pH of the rumen? What is the ideal pH of the rumen? Should it be about 3, pH 3? Because our stomach is like acidic. So we should have it acidic, about 3. The pH of the animal stomach is supposed to be between 5 or 6. And I think, between 5 and 6. Because it's a more alkaline environment. So don't make the mistake of thinking, oh, we have hydrochloric acid in our stomach breaking down everything, so it's good that the rumen, have some acid in there breaking it down. No, remember, it's the microbes, right? And they like that pH, and that is why you ever see, especially when the cows are eating all this saliva hanging around and all this sort of stuff, that is important in the digestion of the animal, because that is helping to maintain the pH also in the stomach of the animal, right? So that's why it's good to understand. You see how much things you can learn from just understanding how the stomach works, how the food moves, what is in there breaking down the feed, right? So if you understand the animal's stomach and what can cause the changes in terms of how the microbes behave, then you can prevent all these things, the acidosis and the bloat. And some of it we know, The thing is, sometimes we know what happens to the animal, but probably not understand the real science behind it. We know that if we change the feed rapidly, it can cause problems with the animals. Get diarrhea, probably get bloat and all these sort of things, right? And that is why we have to understand what is happening, because we're breaking down the food so much and all these acids are being released by the microbes, so it changes the pH of the stomach, and if that changes, it offsets the animal altogether, right? So that is what we're saying. If you feed, you have to be regular in terms of when you feed the animals, the quantity of feed and the quality of the feed to prevent some of these things. Enterotoxemia, tell me what is that? Oh, you have a question before?
Yes, the pH in goat and sheep, 5.5, 6. It's through the line, or?
Yes, it's for most of the ruminants. Even for cattle as well too. It's just that stomach, that kind of stomach, that is the pH environment for that type of stomach to operate.
Higher, what happens? Because we know what happened in lower.
You can lose, that's what they say, they lose the cod or something like that because it gets too alkaline. It cannot break. Just put it this way, all you want to know is that anything that is outside of that particular range can cause problem to the animal, right? So you're always trying to ensure that the stomach is within that pH range. So remember, and that is why we have to look at the feed. We understand how the rumen works, and we look at the feed that we're giving the animal. So for example, if we're saying you're feeding grains, and you're going to switch feed, you may not be able to say, oh, can test the pH of the animal's stomach, but I know that based on what the pH should be, if I'm going to switch feed suddenly like that, it can disrupt the rumen. I'm just kind of telling you, let you get a little peek inside the stomach, what is really happening. Because you know, like I say, you know some of the symptoms of when you do certain things. But what you're trying to do is just get a view as to why it really happened. What is the science behind it? Why you're seeing that kind of reaction, right? So yes, we're not saying that you're going to be able to send a litmus paper down the stomach and test it if the pH is just right. No, we're not saying anything like that. Remember, of course, the animal will start to show signs and symptoms. Some of them are very rapid and the animal can die before you even try to do anything about it. So that is why I say, don't try to feed the animal and say you're going to try watch out and see if anything to say, well, if the changes are happening. Just know what is the proper and correct way to feed the animal to maintain a healthy system, right? Because yes, you will see certain signs, like you're saying, you'll see the animal looking uneasy, probably tail wagging, looking restless, or sometimes they probably just something there, sit down and not getting up, and all these different symptoms and different signs you'll see for the different things. What you can do is that you can read up on some of these, what we call the feed-related disorders. You can read them in more detail so you can see what are the signs and symptoms that you will see. And you can see what they tell you about the preventative measures. Because prevention is better than cure. So they will tell you that, to feed rough edge mostly and that sort of thing. Things that you should look out for, right? So that is your homework, right? Urothylisis. Most of us know about that as well in ruminants, where we speak about the salt in terms of the kidney, and we have salt grains, yes, some kind of calcium kind of thing forming in the kidney of the animal, right? to prevent so they can't pass urine and all these different sort of stuff.
It's like kidney and bladder stone.
Yeah, something like that. Like when you talk about people having gallstone and that sort of thing, it is something similar to that as well, right? And this sometimes is related to the amount of calcium and phosphorus in the diet of the animal. So these are other nutrients that you look out to make sure that it's balanced. But remember, you know, once the animal is feeding on a roughage and doing its normal browsing and everything is fine. What sometimes is upsetting these things too is because we're introducing these commercial grains and we're introducing our own little feed mixes that we're doing. And without proper guidance as to how we're doing these things, sometimes we can set off these things in the animals, right? Brachiaria, we just say that some grasses have some toxicity to it, so you have to be careful how much the animal will eat. And these are things that you will take note of, because remember we talk about when you're selecting your grasses, your forages, we talk about climate change, but this is also one thing that you have to look at too. Is it toxic to my animal, right? Quickly, some other disorders, we talk about water deprivation. We all know that if you don't get water, what can happen to you, right? Protein, which we spoke a little bit about copper, but the deficiency aspects of it and the toxicity aspect of it, vitamin E, hypomagnesia, vitamin B1 deficiency, A, and pregnancy toxemia. These are disorders that we can read about and look up. We're not going to go in details here, right? These are some things that you can know on your own that you can say, well, what you do to prevent them. But these sometimes are when the vets have to come in, because we don't have to always try and play vets ourselves, right?